In this lecture, let's calculate the expenses across all the categories which we have up over here, sum them up and show them inside a table here. So doing that is quite simple. First of all, we have to calculate the sum across all the categories. That means we have to go inside the views first. So let's go inside the views.py file. And there's nothing different you need to do here. So just as we have calculated the sum across the past 30 days here, I simply need to copy the same thing, and instead of filtering as per the date, I now have to filter and order as per the category. So category is the field using which we want to filter out this data. So let's change this thing to something like categorical sums, and let's use the same variable name over here as well. Hopefully there's no typo there. And now I simply have to replace this date with category. And we also want to order this data by category as well. So let's add category over here and over here. So now I'll remove the print here, and we only want to test the categorical sum if that's actually correct and see if it works. So now I could go back, make a get request here. After making a get request, I could go back to the terminal, and here, as you can see, the sum of business expense is 128, the sum of food expense is 35 bucks, and the sum of personal expense is 1333. And that's actually correct if you calculate that. So let's try making one more expense here. Let's say we want to make a business expense. Let's say we buy a car and include it as a business expense. Let's say the car costs $25,000. Category is, let's say, business. Add that up. And now we have another business expense here. Let's head back here. And here you'll be able to see that the sum of business expense has now increased to $153,000, which means that functionality is working absolutely fine. Now, the only thing that needs to be done here is that we need to take that particular expense which we have just printed up and then just pass it as context to the template. So let's take the categorical sums. Go to the long list of contexts which we are passing here. So I'll add that up over here. And then we simply have to do the same thing as we have done here with the daily sums which we have. So we simply have to go ahead, go across all the categorical sums and display them up over here. So here I would simply copy this div, which is actually this leftmost table. I would simply copy paste that. So copy this, paste it inside this div, make sure that it's inside the flex div, and then just replace it with categorical expenses. Pardon me if the spelling of this is wrong. And then I simply have to loop through the categories here on the basis of this context which I pass here. So I'll copy this, go back here, replace this with categorical sum and categorical sums, and say categorical sum dot, and this time the name is actually nothing but it's actually category and sum. So here I would say this is category instead of date, and this as usual remains sum, but replace this with categorical sum. So once we are done with this, hopefully this should work. So I'll go back to the browser, make a get request, and as you can see, now we have the expenses which are actually made category wise. So that means the expense across categories and the daily expense sum is calculated. And now in the next lecture, let's go ahead and let's learn how we could visualize this data which we have across categories and across 30-day expense show up in a visual format. So we are going to do that using Chart.js. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.